All right, we're live. Hello, Internet. And it's another episode of the Content Bootcamp Experience. I think I've accidentally started a show. This is cool.
Ah,
All right, so today we are talking with Marissa Axell. Marissa is the founder of the Forgotten Athlete Experience, which is, I will let you talk about it and introduce yourself, actually. Go ahead.
oh, well, I'm Marissa
Yeah.
Axell. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. And yeah, I run action fitness and coaching. And my flagship program right now is the Forgotten Athlete Success System. For women over 40, we're turning you into badass cyclists.
Which I love. And every time I talk to you, every time we interact, I'm like, oh yeah, I should get back on my bike. Like I have 5 of them. I
Yeah.
should probably ride one.
Well, in your defense,
So
you had a terribly rainy spring. So I don't blame you.
yeah, it was and our big project right now is trying to get the dog to ride on the cargo bike. So we have like a
Cool.
whole setup. So all right, well, let's get to it. We are here to share different client experiences with Content Bootcamp so that those of you who are out there looking in, right, trying to decide if this is something that might work for you. We just want you to hear, from actual clients how it's been. So, Marissa, tell us about like how did you first kind of become aware of Carvel Digital and me, and what was the process of, oh, that looks cool, to like actually kind of considering like maybe this is something you should do.
Yeah, so it's so easy. I was in a group that we were in together, and you had won. I can't remember. I think you won a
The
prize
10
about going on, yeah, the
10K.
10K in 10 days
Yeah.
thing. And that was like, you got on my radar at that time. I was like, damn, she did this while on vacation. So then I knew you had a podcast and I listened to everything. I even got on your YouTube somehow, watched some of those and was like, damn, I need this. But then, of course, I was in the middle of, I had just joined that group. I was doing a bunch of other things. So I was in no position, I thought, to be able to join. So you were always like, I became Facebook friends with you. We were in the same spheres. We had friends in the same groups. And that's how I, got to know who you were. And then in the fall of 2021 was when I was seriously ready to consider joining. But unfortunately, I was still in a group and I was like, I don't feel like I can commit yet to another group. So I left, that group finished. And as soon as you started in 2022, you were like, are you joining yet? Are you joining yet? Are you joining yet? And I was like, yes, here's my money, take it. And I finally joined and I haven't looked back.
That's awesome. I love it. I love how intentionally you were with like, okay, let me not overcommit myself, which honestly is something I struggle with, for being honest. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that looks good. So I love that you were very intentional about that, and that like once you decided, like it was decided. And I remember because it was the first time we ran a survey after our fall launch. It was like, why didn't you join? And you were just like, oh, it's not the right time. And so I just methodically went back to all those people and said, well, how about now?
Yeah.
So yeah. So how was it then, like kind of coming in and getting your feet wet and getting your sea legs and everything? Like what was that beginning process like?
Well, I'm a huge learner. I love, like, that's part of my self-care. I decided like every week I have to learn. And so your program is set up once you log in, it's just like sequential and it's easy to see, like you go here and then here and then here. And so I had time, I sat and watched the videos, downloaded my worksheets, did the work, set up my call with you. And it just kind of flowed. The first 2 weeks I got on the live calls. I think it was the first 2 weeks. And then I got to see the rest of the community and I was like, these are my people. Yeah, I'm in the right place. And once I get into the right place, like that breeds more motivation. So then I just created the time in my schedule, minimum 1 hour to do the like work, that you have lined up, but then also an hour to focus on my homework, which was mostly creating content and moving into my Airtable. So I carved out those 2 1-hour pieces like within my week, usually, at the end of the day. And I stuck to it. But of course, like once I saw how it was helping me, I got more motivated to do it. So like I took a whole weekend and just moved in to the Airtable, like set it up to make it work for me. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah. So you're talking about the pot of gold, and this is a very common, I'm glad you laid out like specifically the time that you spent, because I think that's something people think is, I'm going to join this thing and then I'm going to have to do like, it's going to take me a whole bunch of extra time. And one of the things that I always like to reiterate that actually a client told me was boot camp is actually a container for you to do the things you're already supposed to be doing, but
Yeah.
either you don't know how to do them or you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing or there's like missing pieces. And so it's not like this extra thing. It's like, no, let us take the things you should be doing and make sure that you're doing them consistently, you're doing them strategically, so that you can get results. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing that. And then another thing that happens too is that, a lot of people come into boot camp having already gotten the pot of gold, but not done anything with it. Was that your experience?
Yeah, I had downloaded the pot of gold and looked at it, and then I actually think I did one of your boot camps, like not
Oh,
the
the
program,
workshop.
but yeah, the workshop. And I
Yeah.
was making my way through those. I forgot to say that, but I had made my way through those, and I was super inspired. But I was also like, I'll do it later, you know. So then once
Mm-hmm.
I was in the program, and I was like, I'm in this program, I need to set aside the time to do it, and that's when it all kind of fit together. And
Yeah.
one thing you touched on, it really makes sense to me, was I'd already done a lot of the work. It was literally just going back through what I've already made, created, whatever, and realizing it, right? Cataloging it, putting it into my 10 by 10 or my, you know, Airtable, like the pot of gold, and stop like reiterating myself. Just go back to that post and maybe reword it and then send it out again. So by doing that, I actually ended up saving a lot more time than I had set aside.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. So, just to clarify, because we're throwing out a lot of acronyms. So, the pot of gold is our Airtable based template. So, Airtable is a relational database. It's beautiful, and it just allows you to store and manipulate data really well and visualize data really well. So, we've created a template to help you organize and store all of your marketing content, and not just your marketing content. I mean, once you get started, like the sky's the limit in there, but and so once you do that, what you find is you do have a lot more. Usually people find they do have a lot more content than they thought they did. And once they start saving that time of like, oh, I don't have to go and Google search my own website to find this post from, 2016 that I need to send to this, you just go in and I usually it takes me like less than a minute to find anything that I'm looking for. So what do you find when you're looking for something or you're like, oh, I think I spoke about this topic? Like, how long does it usually take you to find stuff in there?
I'd say under a minute. Yeah. And I usually want to go back to that and update it a little bit. But yeah, it'll take me less than a minute. And I am by no means do I have everything in there yet, but definitely the top things that I talk about over and over. So yeah.
Awesome. So you came in and one of the things that you shared is your special acronym. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that?
So I come from the cycling industry. Like, I'm a cycling coach, and one of the podcasts I follow is called the Fast Cat Cycling Coach podcast or something. This is a guy. He has this big, business, and one of his things is FTFP. If you FTFP, you're gonna get results. And his thing is like, just follow the fucking program. And so partway through the program, I was like, Rhonda, I'm FTFPing. That's what I'm doing. And she's like, what the hell is that? And I was like, following the fucking program. And if you just again, you've laid it out so perfectly that if I just follow step by step, day by day, week by week, you get results. It's not this magical thing that just comes out of thin air. I just FTFP. So that was it led to March year over year. It was what did I say? Like 230% increase this March over last March, because I was just FTFPing this program.
Yeah. So what would you say is because I always talk about offer audience messaging. Like, you came in with a really solid offer. I think you have a really good beat on like your clients and your niche and who it is you're talking to. So what is it that changed with your messaging through going through the program that allowed you to start getting those results?
Well, one is consistency. So consistently posting daily and emailing daily. Second was talking about my offers. So not just posting, hey, cycling's cool, but here's how I can help you. It was shamefully embarrassing how much I didn't talk about how people could work with me inside of my own Facebook group, which is full of people who want to learn more about cycling. I mean, I have like 2,300 people in there. So
Wow.
I remember coming to a coaching call and just saying, like, it turns out when you talk about your program, people sign up. So those are the two biggest things that changed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you started to talk a little bit about your results, like talk a little bit more about just the change in your business between, a year ago, say, and now.
Yeah. So, well, I'll even back it up to like March, April. In 2021, those were really low months. And I mean, part of it was like what was going on in the world. We were just getting vaccines. People were still isolating. There was a lot of stuff. And I feel like maybe I internalized that. I hid, I wasn't visible. So this year, 180, I'm all about consistently talking about what I do and how it helps people, especially women over 40 who are ready to like stay, get strong, stay strong, and tackle hills on their bikes or these huge events on their bikes. So that is, consistently, I would say, is the most important part. Because I did that, it just was like I'm imagining reaching more eyes. I couldn't tell you exactly how many, but I've definitely like doubled my Facebook group. So reaching 100% more people, and then and then allowing them to apply to work with me rather than just telling them like, oh, I have this program, or whispering about it.
Yeah. And
So it
you
was.
didn't have an application before, right?
No, thanks to
Okay.
Airtable, I now have an application, and it's so easy for people to apply and for me to really understand. Like, I would say your program also helped push me to look at my best clients and like what made them the best. And I could tease out the two things that I look for when I know I can help these clients get the best results. And so that allowed me to find like really two big pieces that if a client is applying and doesn't have that, I can really say like, well, I don't think you're ready to be in this program yet, but here's some other options that I could offer you to get to where you need to be. And that helped me clear up my time, or, attracting more of the right clients so that I wasn't wasting time with people who weren't going to maybe get results or who weren't interested in doing the work. So yeah, it was so helpful. Just that little step allowed me to work with a higher quality of client, I guess.
Yeah. And that's super important, because I literally was just on a call with someone who primarily is in an industry that's overrun. Like, she's in the pet industry. And so for her, it's not about being able to get clients. It's like, I want to get the right clients that give you energy, that do the homework, that are going to get the results. So it's not necessarily people coming in because like they can't get clients, right? Sometimes it's like, I want to get the right clients and I want to maximize, my results. So, okay. Were there any surprises that you found in boot camp that you weren't expecting? Like, obviously we're going to talk about content. We're going to talk about, technology a little bit sometimes. Was there anything that you got that you weren't expecting, or that was a surprise?
I just went in thinking I'm going to learn how to do content better. And I feel like it's never just like content in a silo, right? Because the content itself will affect getting in front of your favorite clients. It'll draw the right people to you. And I know, like, I just can't overstate it enough that doing that little bit of extra work and consistently posting, and then, using that application process to tease out the right type of client, it just like started drawing like a moth to a flame, like started drawing people from places that I didn't know where they came from. And they were all of a sudden in my sphere. And I was like, I am getting dream clients, Kronda, and I'm not really sure why, but we can talk about that later. So that was one thing, was like, I thought I was going in just making like content, and it turned out to be so much more. And the second thing was, because we talk so much about content and then, attracting the right people, well, you want to make sure like, where they are in your system. And there's a lot of business systems that I wasn't like, it wasn't on my radar that we were going to talk about. And I'm thrilled that we do. And because of that, I found, like, what did I say? Like 150 people who are hiding in my system.
Oh, that's right.
Right? They were hot prospects. They've been kicking the tires. They were looking around, and I was basically not asking them to join. And I was simultaneously, like, excited and embarrassed because they've been sitting there the whole time. So because of that, I unearthed, about 150 people who are hot prospects from going way back to when I had started my business. So I just started talking to them a little bit more. I created some different emails. I followed up with them more often, and they're now more on my radar. Some of them, I think 2 of them have signed up already, which is awesome. And some are working in a different capacity, like they're more do-it-yourselfers, but still, like, because I worked with you, I was able to find them in my system.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of good ground. One thing you did say was when you got to the community, you felt like, okay, these are my people. Like, what was it that made you feel like that?
I knew some of them from the group that we had been in before. And I feel like we were all about the same page, more or less, in our businesses. So I didn't feel like, oh, this is so beginner, and I didn't feel like, oh, they're so far ahead of me, I'm never going to catch up. And everybody was so, I don't know what the word is, like, authentic, I guess, in their struggles as business owners, as people, walking on earth in this time of United States government. Like, we're all, in the same, I wouldn't say like fighting the same fights in our businesses. We almost all of us serve mostly women. And it just felt like I was super aligned to, like, the time that we are all at in our business, the same struggles we're all going through. And then we're all there to, I don't know, cheer each other on. And there's no, like, it's a lot of collaboration, I guess, and not any competition. Even though maybe some people are in the same, industry, everybody feels like we're collaborating together and, like, offering help upon help. And that, to me, I'm all about collaboration and not as much about competition, especially with other business owners. Because I think, like, we all come from different industries, for more or less, but we all have the similar needs, and we all have similar experiences of struggling. And so I felt like we collectively were very much in the same place and could collaborate together to create something better. And so far, I think, we are all showing up for each other on Insta and Facebook, supporting each other when we're stuck. I really like that, like, community feel.
Yeah. And you and Steph have done a couple of podcasts together, I think, right?
Yep.
Podcast episodes. So yeah. And I love it when I see that people are teaming up, which we don't formally facilitate, but we've had people say, oh, let's be accountability buddies. And, I love to see that happening. So that's awesome. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's awesome. And people probably can tell, like, if you're resonating with the things that Marissa is saying, then you probably should apply. So let me stick the application link up here. So go and apply. As we record this, you still have another day where you can get the current pricing, and you can get our 6-month payment plan. And I have spots in my calendar open tomorrow if you want to apply and then talk with someone on our team. So the last thing, Marissa, is for the people who are watching this and are circling and are, thinking about it and wondering about it. Like, what would you say to those folks?
I would say if you follow the freaking plan, you're gonna get results no matter what, really, because everything in here is super solid. There's no fluff. I didn't feel like I had any wasted time. And I specifically set myself, about, like I said, 2 hours a week to just focus on getting my homework done. And I want to say, like, I didn't feel like some weeks I didn't need all of that time because I became so much more proficient at what I was doing. It just got easier over time. So if you're looking for a way, if you're not sure about your messaging, that's where I was. I'm talking to the wrong people. I wasn't sure about my messaging, then go get in the program. And if you want accountability and collaboration with awesome business people get in the program. I'm so glad I did. In fact, I ended up staying. Can I tell them that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm overstaying my welcome. Karanda let me stay.
Never.
And because I need the support. I really like the accountability that's involved in the group. I like seeing people weekly. Well, 2 or 3 times a month. I love showing up, talking about our wins. I also need the accountability, knowing that I'm going to be talking to people and I want to show them what I've been doing. So I can't just slack off. But it's not like, you're not going to get results if you don't put in the work, right? Just like anything. So you get out of it what you put into it. But I was ready to change my messaging. And because of that, my business really exploded in the spring, and it really hasn't stopped, to be honest. I'm like shocked and not appalled, but shocked every time I finish my numbers at the end of the month and just go like, wow, like this made a big difference for me. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in a little while on our coaching call.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Bye, y'all.